Hi, my viewers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from. This is Motun Talks, a platform where we give God praise, we glorify the name of the Lord, we share life experience, testimonies, and we bring people here on the platform to come and talk to us on valuable information, to give us tips on things that we know that will be beneficial to everyone or somebody out there. So when you went and God gave you those specific instructions, you carried them how? So how did your husband find you? Because I'm sure, based on your own what you've said, it's more a guy should. It's he that finds a wife, right? So how will you say your husband actually find you when you were taking all those steps that the Lord laid into your heart?
All right. So I'd say, okay, so those instructions came in January, the fast ended, and I started to live my normal life. So I went out in February. I can't even quite remember where I went, but I posted pictures as instructed. I was very cheerful. March again, found another place to go, dress up, post a picture. Okay, Lord, this is what it is well. Nothing had changed. April, I started to get a bit like, what's happening now? This is the year 2018. First quarter has finished. But I encouraged myself, went out, got dressed, took more pictures, posted. All my friends are liking it, but this is not, because personally for me, in reality, I'm not an Instagram person. So this is not even my natural state. I'm doing this because this is something.
It was an instruction. Yeah.
So I find like this kind of silly self-promotion is annoying to me, but this is what I've been instructed to do. And I really mean it, and I will go. But by April, honestly, I was beginning to get discouraged. I won't lie. And then another event came. This event, and I tend to go to events that interest me. So some of them are arts, some of them are plays, and I go by my interest, not by what I think will impress anybody. I go by what I really enjoy. So I like books, so I'll go to maybe a launch of a book. I will go to, I liked Carnival, the one they do in London, the Notting Hill Carnival. So I'll go to that. So I'll go to the things that really interest me, which other people might just feel like, what is this? So go to what really you enjoy and interests you, but share the pictures. And so by the time we got to May, I wanted to go to a business conference. I wanted to go to it because, the topic was of interest to me. But I also felt, business, maybe I might meet some interesting and serious people there. But then this was in London and I was living away from there. So I weighed it, but I know I have to go out every month, do something interesting at least, and put the pictures. So I decided to go out to that conference. So I went there. It was really nice. I met a lot of interesting and cerebral people. It was an enjoyable evening. I loved my dress and all. But after the whole conference and the dinner and after everything, I didn't really meet anybody or connect with anybody. So I felt almost a bit disappointed that, hey,
I get
because I don't know. If you've been single for a while and you've gone to a lot of events, you almost begin to look over your shoulder. It's might be this one, might be this one.
Coupled with the investments of traveling and stuff, time,
First of all, and sometimes, that was my goal. And that's the thing, so when you have a goal, you put your money behind that goal. So every month I had a budget for this, going out and enjoying myself and showcasing the pictures and meeting. So there was a budget for it because it was a goal, but sometimes you've gone and spent this month's budget and you've not achieved what you thought. So there is that sense of, I almost felt a bit, but anyways, the next day was Sunday. So the event was a Saturday. The next day was Sunday. So I went to church in London, a different place, dressed up as usual, had a lovely service. And on the way out, I saw one very beautiful inscription on a wall, a verse of scripture. And I said, somebody take me a picture. I just asked one of the members of the church to take a picture of me, a couple of pictures. And I posted it again as part of the Laguerres of the weekend. In fact, funny enough, it was pictures from church I posted, not even the pictures from the events that I went to the night before. And that was it. Started to plan where I would go in June. So in June, I also came back to London again in June for something else. But then now back to your question, how did my husband eventually meet me? Well, so I just know that out of the blue, sometime in June, that was the next month, somebody just messaged me on my Facebook Messenger I mean, that's not a platform that I use very often. So it took me maybe a day after to actually even look at it and actually see where that message came from. And it was an old colleague of mine, and we had gone to medical school together, and he was now working in the UK as well. And he just, hello, how are you doing? Just, like a very innocent text message, just to, reconnect with an old friend. And I was like, I remember this old friend, and he really liked me back then. One of them was once a toaster, but those were the era when you were getting like 11 toasters a month. So it was like, your screening process was very. You were using heuristics really to screen people because there was just such a lot of a deluge at the time. So. So he asked to reconnect, and I thought, okay, he was such a nice friend then, very loyal and all that. So certainly, I responded, and we got chatting and all. Now that we've got chatting and we are married now, I now know what prompted him to actually pick up the phone and message me. And he says that, you see this picture, from time to for a few months now, I've been following you on Instagram quietly, just looking at your pictures and saying nothing. But you see this one where you posted in May that you went to one church like this. When I saw that picture, I just said, you know what, let me stop stalking. Let me just message this girl. And that was it.
Oh, don't you think, to me, from this story, so he saw your picture and it just clicked. That wasn't just your picture. That was the favor of God that spoke. Exactly. When the favor of God speak, the person might see you wearing white, but in his eyes, he will be seeing you wearing purple. He will be seeing you wear, because the favor of God has been drawn to you. That time was your time of favor. Yet the set time has come and it came. Honestly, that was an awesome meeting, a divine ordained meeting from the Lord. But there's a question I really wanted to ask you regarding that. Look at all the processes you went to. You dated yourself, you went out, you had a budget, you knew what you wanted, and you worked towards the goal. So you were constantly going out, right? You went on online dating just to see. It's nothing wrong in just seeing if anything will work out or not. Now we're in lockdown and restriction. People don't even have, if not that I have to video or I have to do some things, I don't see any reason why I have to dress up to come and be, but because I have to present this, I need to dress up and do that. So people don't really go out. So what advice will you give, or compared to your time then when you could go out, you could do every other thing? What advice will you give to people? So now it's not just female, but male and female that might be wanting to settle down and have marital settlements as their goal for 2021. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a very important and valid question. And I think the most important thing really is to backtrack a bit. The fact is that it's instruction. That's the most important thing, instruction. God leads each and every one of us in different places. The truth is that you may only go out once a month to go and buy your groceries, and it's on that grocery line waiting 2 meters apart. That's where you meet your own God-appointed husband. It might just be someone who remembers you from out of the blue. It might be a colleague from work. So, you do not know. And that's why you need to be guided by God. And I think the most important thing, now more than ever before, you need to be guided. Okay. And the most important thing is to go to God and ask, Lord, this is my specific situation and this is my desire for 2021. I really want to meet someone. Show me the way to go. It might be a Bible study group that you're on, that you've never even thought of any of the people there. It might be a Zoom platform, that or a Zoom conference, and then somebody just chats you up after that. So God works in mysterious ways, and that's why we must be guided. Yes, there's also the online platform, but again, it's worth trying. But again, what is specific to you?
It's instruction.
You need the instruction of God. A lot of people have been on Instagram for years and never met anybody. Lots of people post Instagram posts every day and nobody really connects with them. But God led me and said specifically, I didn't post any of those pictures. I didn't really post those pictures to Facebook, just Instagram specifically. So I'd say the most important thing at this time is to be guided by God. And, yes, maybe opportunities theoretically might seem fewer, but let God lead you. At the end of the day, you only need one husband, not 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. Just one.
And nobody has married him. He's still there out there.
And that's the fact. So don't be afraid. He's still there. Nobody has married him.
Nobody has married. Everybody has married. Yes.
Pray just as hard as you for you to meet you. So.
Yeah. So, I just want to buttress more on what Dr. Adiat has said right now. When you listen to the specific instruction, the Lord will guide you. Now, this is just a confirmation of what I just heard about 2 days ago or 3 days ago on a program. And the speaker was talking about, the mentor was talking about, it's more on this online dating, and now that there is restriction and stuff. And I didn't even ask, we didn't talk about this, but this is just a confirmation, because God is one, and the Spirit of the Lord is one. So the woman was talking about, even when you are going out, how do you look? Is it that you now tie something on your head because you are going to groceries? Why don't you just look presentable? Affordable, presentable, and look okay. You don't need to break your bank account to look good, to buy. I'm not saying those that are buying things expensive, they can afford it. But if you can't afford it, just look okay, look presentable, go for your groceries. And this was the same thing she said. I'm just saying this just to affirm that yes, this is what God is saying. God, you can't limit God. We can't box God to what God can do. We can only get those heart's desire of us when we go through the instruction of the Lord. Dr. Ayo went through all those processes, and she posted a picture because it was a specific instruction. And every one of us, we have our own specific instruction that God will give to us. It might be while you are going on a grocery, and like she said, it might be on a group, on a platform that somebody will just call, or So we need to listen to God's instruction, and God will help us. Dr. Ayo, before I let you go, I was talking to someone a few days ago. I was talking to a lady, and she mentioned something to me. She asked for my age, and I told her my age, and she was like, "Oh, she's too young. She's in her early 20s." And then she heard that whenever those that married early, they have tendency of getting divorced. So what do you have to say to that? That was what she told me. So now, compared to you that you married late now, so now, over 30, it's a little bit, and she's in her early 20s. And she told me, she said that, honestly, I was shocked, because I was just like, what is being fed? What has people been feeding her? But is this something, like a counsel you could give to someone that might felt, I'm old, I didn't get husband, or I'm late, see, I'm this and that, I'm late, or someone that might be feeling, I'm too young, I don't think I can handle the responsibility of being married? What advice can you? I know you are, you said you are still early, but you've learned something for these past years that you've been married. So what are the things you think, or through your own journey, what do you think you could advise to those that might felt, I'm getting late, I didn't get husband, or to those that felt, I'm too young, I can't handle a home,
Well, I think this is a valid question, because age is often a factor for women more so. Men also do experience the pressures of age as well, but women feel so, and it can be quite tough. I think now there's a lot more pressure on younger women to delay marriage, because it's almost as if, what are you rushing for? Focus on your career. That's the messaging that seems to be coming through to a lot of young women. But I think remember that things like marriage and relationships, they are very, very individual. What are your own personal aspirations? Just because people are delaying their marriage to their 30s, it has its benefits, it has its downsides, but you should be, this is a decision you have to think for yourself. One, don't rush into it. Under no circumstances should you rush into it. Age should not be the reason why you do it. So whether you're 21 or 31 or 41, it's not that, let the age is a secondary factor. Do you really love this person? Do you really feel that you'll be happy to go through the various seasons of life with this person? Do you feel fulfilled in your own self? And I think the reason why people would advocate for being older is often because when you're older, one, you're more self-aware. You've gone through a lot of experiences and you know yourself better. You know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So that is one of the advantages of being more mature. Also too is your income and earning potential. So a lot of women don't really get to their sort of peak or achieve something in terms of their skills and career sets, which can be a disadvantage if you marry early. I mean, a lot of women combine being mothers and getting an education, acquiring skills. So it shouldn't be the main reason. I think you judge it based on yourself. If you still feel, like I think of myself at 23 or 24, I wasn't even keen. I wanted to explore the world. I wanted to travel. I wanted my career. So nobody going to study marriage to me that time. It wouldn't enter my age. You understand? Whereas there's some people, that's their aspiration. Their biggest aspiration is to be a mom young in life. So go with your own aspirations. But just realize that everything you choose, and I think this is where we have to mature, that everything we choose comes with its consequences. If you're starting early, you may have to, you may not have as much options economically, money-wise. You may not be that far along in your career. Having children early might alter the course of your career. So those are trade-offs. Whereas if you marry later in life, it does have its problems. You might find that you may have to, in a sense, marry a man perhaps not as accomplished or as successful as yourself. You may realize that if you're getting more, towards your late 30s, early 40s, that it might not be quite as easy. It's not impossible. Women get pregnant and have kids at every age, but it becomes a bigger factor for you. But then again, it comes with its benefits. You're more self-aware. You have way more resources. So I think in retrospect, it's about being, accepting yourself and accepting your journey. And just recognizing that it's not so much the number. And then, another thing is that as you get, and one thing I also confronted for myself is, fine, I was 32 and then 33 and I was single. You have to come to terms with the fact that what if my life does not eventually end up with marriage? And I mean, for a lot of women, that can be a scary reality. But I ask myself, if I get to 35 and I'm single, what will make me fulfilled? If I get to 40 and I'm single, what are the ingredients that will make me fulfilled? And I defined, those things were written down and defined for me. So fine, I was hoping and praying, but I recognized that I'm not God. I'm not, if indeed this didn't actually happen, I have a plan for my life. Whereas I'm 35 and single, but I'm still fulfilled. I'm 40 and single and I'm still fulfilled. And what are the things that will make me fulfilled? I know that, then my career will probably play a much more significant role. My financial stability will be much significant. Then the role I play in my other sisters and family, my existing family, will be much more significant. The role I play in my church, so these things were defined. So even when I was budgeting and saving, I was also spending my money knowing that what if no husband ever materializes? I would want to own a house. I would want to be able to afford certain things at a certain stage in my life. And I think, this is the reality where people of faith, we trust God, or just like the Hebrew boys said, whether God delivers us or does not deliver. What if? At any stage of your life, have a plan for.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayodele. So you've rightly said it. You don't need to hold your life, and everything plays out according to your own plan and what you actually expect, in life. And don't put your whole life on hold. That's just the summary of what you want. Don't put your life on hold because you are of age and you are not yet married. And don't think because you are this age is just a number. Try and do things that will make you to be satisfied. And I think that's a very important point. So my second to the last question for you, Dr. Ayodele, would be, was there any group or any book that you read that really helped you during your singleness journey? And if yes, or if there was a book, just a brief mention of those books or the group that you joined, did you see the impact of what you have learned during those time in your marriage now that you're married? Are they playing out? Have you implemented any of those things you've learned so far in the groups or in the books that you've read and stuff to actually prepare you ahead for marriage?
Okay, definitely. I mean, I've always been quite a reader, and I would say, right from being in university and even teenage years, you start to read about marriage because those books are quite readily available, or were readily available in my environment growing up. So I read quite a lot. I mean, initially, you're just reading out of curiosity. I would say the first book that actually even helped me along that journey of relationships and things was, it's published by the Jehovah's Witness. It's called Questions Young People Ask. And, it talked a lot about sexuality. It talked about, but that was the first time I heard about things like masturbation and all. But, they gave you a scriptural foundation to understand those things even before they became a big issue in my life. So I was reading that book at around maybe 12 or 13. And I think that really kind of preconditioned me to understand that these are the things that will happen in the future. But this is what the Word of God says. So that publication, I think, was foundational for me. Now, as I grew older, I came across a lot of books, very popular books that we read. But in terms of the ones that I think, really caused a mental shift, one of them, funny enough, is a book called The Rules. I read the old version that was published in the 80s and 90s. It's just called The Rules. If you can find the older versions on one of these platforms, on Amazon. Okay. I mean, I can find the details and share it with you for future edits of this video, so that you can share with people about The Rules. And I liked it because it was I mean, in a way it was semi old fashioned for now, but it had some certain principles about how you should treat yourself and how you should expect yourself to be treated in a relationship. And I think for me it was one that I read and I widely shared with my friends and sisters at that time, and then finally, in terms of a book that I read that prepared me the most for marriage, that I would say made me make the most of the courtship period, that helped me frame my understanding of what happens behind the scenes in marriage, what happens behind the scenes in divorce, what happens it's actually an American book. It's quite an old book, in all honesty. I will find the name, but the title is What Every Woman Ought to Know About Marriage. I think, What Every Woman Ought to Know About Marriage. It's an old book. I don't even think it's still in print, but I will find my own copy and show you, and I can just give you some details about it. I think in retrospect, I found this like one of the most useful books for courtship. Now, I think a more modern book that also helped me towards during my courtship time again was a book called Dating, by Mrs. Faith Oyedepo. I think she had just even released that book at the time when I read it. So that was also another one. And I think I can always send you slight summaries of those books. But I think those were really, really life transforming for me, really.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayodele. So the importance of getting prepared even for what you desired is very important, because right now it's going to help through, even when you find the right person that you want to, what the right word to say, how to behave, how to comport yourself, and even when you get into the marriage, that would have prepared us ahead of that, and that is playing out right now. Yeah.
Can I just add one more thing? I think another thing is that by the time you get to your 30s, if you've been reading quite a lot of these books, you almost get to a point where you feel like, when someone suggests a book to you, like, what are they going to say in this book that I've not already read?
Yeah.
Or when somebody calls you to come to a conference or when someone starts to talk about marriage, you're like, please, I've heard it all. But I think I will ask you to curtail that desire to say that. Because as a child of God, you must always be open to learn. And I'll give you an instance, just a very short summary. So I think if a few weeks before my husband eventually contacted me, so this was very early in June now of 2018, I was at church one day and the pastor's wife, nice woman that she just wanted to am I dating anybody? Because like I said, I was not ashamed of my goal. I went to one international conference in 2018 March. I remember everybody, how you say introduce yourself. I was introducing myself and I made sure that I mentioned that I'm single and ready to mingle. I'm not ashamed. So in my church, they all know that.
That's your opening line.
That's it. So in my church that time, everybody knew that if you see any eligible, young professional man that is single, please point him in my direction. No shame there. So you understand? So So pastor's wife came. Okay, so updates. What's going on and all? And I said, I'm still waiting on the Lord and believing God, and I'm optimistic that 2018 is my year. This one, that one, And she was just like, don't worry, it will happen. And while I was there talking to her, one other sister will come in, another one will come in. So essentially, I ended up being surrounded by about 6 women. Maybe about 4 of them were married, and then 1 or 2 others. One was in a relationship. So I was just the only single person in the midst of these women, and they were just like, talking. And one would say, she married to someone of a different race. They were just chipping. Everybody was just talking their own and just encouraging me that to happen. And that day, there are 2 ways I could have looked at it. I could have looked at it as myself as a victim, because a lot of these women were my own age mates. I could have looked at it as my victim, and they're looking down at me. They're doing it. Or I could look at that these people were actually coming from a genuine place and want to know about my welfare. And the pastor's wife suggested something to me that day. She just said, when you go home today, make a list of all the qualities you want in a man. Just write them, all of them. And then now select the 3 that are your essential. Just tick those 3. And the next person who comes to you that meet those 3 criteria, at least give him a chance. That was the instruction this woman gave me. So me too, I'm a follower of instruction. I went home and I brought out my journal where all those instructions I received in January were all listed there. That journal is still with me. And I listed all the qualities that I wanted. And after detailed, reflection, I took the 3 that were most important. I put tick in front of them. It was a big one. And if I tell you that book was still under my bed when my own husband contacted me. So don't feel you've learned it or you've read it all. You always hear an instruction that is new for you. Be open to it. And when people ask, they're not asking from a bad place. Don't let that be your default, that anybody asking you about your marital status is asking from a place of negativity or mockery. Sometimes people are asking because they genuinely care. And I find that most people ask because they care. So that's just what I say on that.
This has been, I didn't even know that time has gone. I didn't even want to end this. But however, we have to call it a day. But I really want to say a very, very big thank you to Dr. Ayodele, because this is vulnerability. She's vulnerable and open so that we all could learn from our own journey. We could see what she did and how God actually instructed her, do this, and she carried out those steps, and we can see the results today. She's happily married with her husband. And don't be boxed that this is where my husband is going to come to. I mean, sometimes we ask that question. We are not going to church now, so how am I going to get the godly man or the man that will marry me? It could come at any time, wherever, anywhere. Just ensure that you prepared yourself. Be readily prepared. Don't wait, because opportunity come unannounced. You want to go and get God's street. Look okay. Look presentable. Look, when somebody will see you, they will be able to turn back and say, oh, I need to talk to this person. Not just looking cold and not taking care of yourself. And you don't need to break your bank account, honestly. That's my own logo. I don't need to break my bank account to look okay. Be reasonable. Map out your time. I mean, she said it. These are the quality. It's not wrong to have a quality or to want something in a man. It's not a wrong thing. Make it out. But I mean, somebody is always asking, don't set high standard. I think I need to ask you regarding that. What's your view on people saying don't set high standards? You're of age. Any man that comes, what do you have to say to that? Because people have said such to people I know. You are of age. Don't set high standard. Does that mean the person has to bring down, because she wants to get married, or because he wants to get married and he can go and marry any other person? What do you have to say to that before we run? That's the last question, please. Let me just ask.
Well, I mean, I think we have to be. It's interesting, and the people will say that. I think at the end of the day, you must be true to yourself, and you must follow instructions. But interestingly, like I said, I think the same advice I would give is to have all your qualities listed out. Everything you can possibly want. In fact, I had ridiculous things on that list. You understand? But there are the 3 that I'd rather be single than live with a man who doesn't have these 3. And that's the definition of those 3 factors.
Those are the icebreakers. That's
it. So If a man doesn't have these three, I'd rather be single. Full stop. So that's it. So that's all I have to say about standards.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayodele. I don't know how to express my joy onto what you did today and how you've been able to open up for us all and to be able to speak, on your journey. And I pray that as many that would see this and listen to this will be blessed by it. So my viewers, that is the last Dr. Ayo's advice. Be open. Don't think anybody is mocking you because you are not yet married. She listened to God's instruction and she had godly counsel. In the multitude of godly counsel, there is safety, and she went by it, and that played out. It really played out and paid out at the end of the day. So that is what we have for you today. This is a journey from for Dr. Ayo, from a singleness to a married journey, and she was willing to share with us. And I pray that as many that are open and believing God to have this kind of testimony, the Lord will make it happen, and the Lord will breathe his life, his breath on all your endeavors and your heart desires in the mighty name of Jesus. So my viewers, that is what we have for you today for Motun Talks. It's more of testimony journal and time out with Motun on that Motun Talks that took place today. And like I rightly said, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly build this community together by liking, commenting, and sharing with your loved ones. God bless you, and stay tuned to my next video. Bye.
Bye.